In this most unconventional presidential election year, we ought to stop for a moment and ask ourselves a question. If politicians are as unappealing as polls suggest, why is it that we Americans find politics itself so appealing? Politics can be like a guilty pleasure. You love it, but you don't love the fact that you love it because it's somehow so dirty and deceptive and insincere. And we know how a candidate wins office is entirely disconnected from his ability to actually perform in office. So what exactly is the appeal of politics? Well, no other walk of life offers anything near the depth, breadth, and drama, and human nature and behavior and insight into the human character for all to see. Politics allows us to delve as amateurs into so many intriguing fields like psychology. How are candidates perceiving and tapping into what voters are thinking and what they want? Sociology. How are messages and proposals affected by the backgrounds of various groups of voters and the candidates themselves? Demography. We get to know a lot more about the people in places like Iowa and New Hampshire than we ever would otherwise. And on a larger scale, whether the country is thinking the same way or differently than we are. Salesmanship. Candidates, as we know, are often peddled with ads that sometimes resemble infomercials. Politics allows us to witness brinksmanship. How do candidates behave when they're on the brink of victory or trouble or collapse? And strategic thinking, when and where to expend resources, when to hold and when to fold, when to attack and when to lay back. Politics provides for the kind of endless, real-life, high stakes and drama in the lives of so many who follow it. Real-life success and failure with the world watching. Now, there's a perception that America's founders were anti-politicians, that nasty art of politics was beneath their soaring vision of a new kind of nation. In fact, most of the founders were politicians in the truest sense of the word, because they had to be. After all, they were trying to achieve the most audacious of goals, liberating themselves from the grip of the world's most powerful nation. If you don't think that took politics, think again. Take the Federalist Papers, which Thomas Jefferson called the best commentary on the principles of government ever written. The Federalist was designed specifically as an instrument to convince what would have been called the swing voters of New York on the merits of the proposed Constitution, the political equivalent of today's battleground states in presidential elections. The founders were not dreamers, but realists. In Federalist number 10, Madison writes of how political parties are much more disposed to vex and oppress each other than to cooperate for their common good. Politics is the world's hardest profession, in large part because you come with the suspicion simply by virtue of entering politics. You have to prove a negative, that you're not like all those other politicians. And you're subject to constant scrutiny and criticism by masses of people. But in the end, while so much of politics is hoopla and horse race, what candidates are really made of is always revealed under the microscope of scrutiny, now magnified more than ever in this internet age where everybody can weigh in with their own 2 cents. So this is why so many people are repulsed by politicians but drawn to the craft and science and art of politics. For many, it's like a sport, except the results actually matter. No less than America's founders understood this, and they created a new system of government designed from the bottom up instead of the top down to check, balance, and divide power, and thus mitigate the seductive reality of politics, politicians, and ourselves.